Good morning, church. It's good to be with you. Let me start us off with this little game. We are in this series called Called to Love, right? We're trying to be the salt and the light of the community, and so let me start off with this game. Okay, so let's see if you can finish the phrase. Okay, home sweet. Home. All right. Okay, very good. Yeah, that's a pretty obvious one. Okay, how about this one? Home is where the heart is. Very good. Okay. There's a lot of different ones. I probably should have said home is where. Anyway, okay. Home is where the heart is. There's no place like home. Yes. Okay. And there's all sorts of songs out there too, right? All right. So you sing this one after me. Okay. Here we go. Take me country roads. Very good. Very good. Okay. How about this one? Sweet home Alabama. Very good. Good job. And then there's that Christmas song. I'll be home for Christmas. Very good. Very good. There's a song in 2005. Can you believe that was 20 years ago? 2005 that Michael Bublé wrote, and it's called Home. And his chorus or verse, it says this: another winter day has come and gone away, and even Paris and Rome, and I want to go home. Let me go home. Though I'm surrounded by a million people, I still feel alone. Just let me go home. Song about homesickness, right? Have you ever felt that kind of homesickness before? There's always feelings that come up when you bring up home. And the good ones are really sweet, right? There's a sense of nostalgia, right? It could be maybe for you it was your grandparents' house. When you were growing up, you just remember the smell, or you remember what you would do and sitting at the kitchen table playing games. For me, it was me and my grandma. We would paint together all the time, right? Maybe for you, it's your hometown. When you get back into your old stomping grounds, it just feels good to be home, right? Maybe it's your childhood home, the one that you grew up in, and you just remember so many cool memories or great memories, even some not so good memories that can come from home. Maybe it was the home that you raised your children in. Oh, do you remember when they were this big and they just learned to walk, or those different things? There's so much nostalgia when it comes to the idea of home, and our culture seems to be wrapped up in this need for a home. So I guess you can imagine what we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about homes, talking about what it means to be home. And so I have a question to kind of get you all started. Turn to your neighbor and answer this question. What is hospitality? All right, so turn to your neighbor and let's discuss.
But you're right. I was thinking like it might be when they're home and then just serving them, making sure they're okay. But also, I guess it's more than just entertaining. It's have a welcoming spirit. But it's also you might be money to help.
All right, let's bring it back together. Yeah, what is hospitality? Hospitality is an interesting word. Don't use it in normal conversation, but you feel it all around you. There are all sorts of interpretations of what hospitality means. I would say that most of you said something along the lines of hosting people in your home, maybe making a meal for someone, inviting people over for dinner, stuff like that. Raise your hand if that was kind of what you said hospitality was. Okay, so that's pretty much all of you. It is. There is definitely an aspect of that in hospitality. Most people think of it as inviting people over, right? And some of you love that idea. Some of you are like, I love cooking. I love spending time with people. I love opening my home. I love that. And then other of you just want to pull your hair out when you hear the idea of inviting people into my home, my solitude, my place. I got to clean up my house. I've got to make a meal. Are you kidding me? Right? All we eat all week is frozen pizzas. What am I going to feed people? Right? There's this either you love it or you hate it kind of mentality when it comes to hospitality. And I am here to make an argument today that hospitality is not about or not just inviting people over or having a grand, 5-course meal, or about the fancy tablecloths, or about who you invite that is, cool or whatever it is. It's not about those things. Hospitality is so much more than that. More than anything, I believe that hospitality is bringing a sense of home to others. Bringing a sense of home to other people. So like when you go to your home, after this, most of you are probably going to go home, at least some point today. Hopefully you're going home. You go home, and what do you do at home, right? You unwind, you relax, you take your shoes off. Some of you take your socks off. You put down your guard, right? Oftentimes, I would say that the people that are closest to you live in your home, right? You just see life. You cook, you clean, maybe you have an office at home, so you work from home. You eat, you turn on some music, and you dance around your kitchen, right? You have fun in your home. Essentially, you live in your home. Wow, that's like a shocker, right? You live in your home. The point is, in your home, you are you, right? And then what do you experience when you're home? It's not just what you do, but what do you experience? Depending on your home, you can experience a level of calm. You can experience a sense of authenticity. That's what we talked about. You can experience being loved and really known. I mean, no one knows me better than my wife and my daughter because they see me every single day. You guys see me, a couple hours a week. They know me in and out. You experience safety and security. You lock your doors at night, and you have a security system, or you've got a Ring doorbell, or whatever it is, right? You experience deep conversations, vulnerability, right? There's just this realness that you experience at home. And I'll say this, it's not just the nice things that you experience at home. There's a lot of other things that you experience at home. You experience the full range of emotions in your home, right? You experience fights and conflicts and resolutions, hopefully. You experience giving apologies and accepting apologies and forgiveness, right? You experience pitching in, right? Have you ever heard, have you been born in a barn? Right? We all work together to make our home. We pitch in, we contribute, we care about our home. And so if there's something on your stairs and you just walk right by it, it's probably not going to go over well for you. My wife can tell you how much she gets mad at me for just walking by like nothing even happened. There's stuff on the stairs. Ugh. Anyway, okay, but yeah, it's just one of my problems. I have an issue with cleaning. Okay, anyway, so you pitch in and you contribute. And then there's also this level of commitment that you have for your family that you don't really have for almost anyone else, right? There's this level of care and concern and commitment for your family. Your family can hurt you, but they're still your family, right? I can be annoyed at someone at work and avoid them, but at home, it's unavoidable, right? I can't avoid them. I have to figure out how to make it work. That's what home is. It's this place where you experience the full range of emotions. All these things at home encapsulate what it means to embody hospitality. Like real hospitality comes with all of the things that I just mentioned. Making a home for people means letting them be real. It means letting them be vulnerable. It means welcoming them. It means pitching in their lives. It means caring for them. It means having deep conversations, having conflicts and apologies, right? It means it means so much. I mean, I can't really go into everything. I mean, you can give every example of what home is, and that is what embodying hospitality is. It is making a home or a sense of home for others. And so I've got 3 points that I feel like reinforce what home is and really what it is to be hospitable, right? So to be hospitable is to be meeting others' real needs. That's number 1, meeting others' real needs. Okay, so we're going to be in Matthew 25, verses 31 through 36. So if you turn there, in this passage, Jesus is sharing about the kingdom of heaven, what the kingdom of heaven is going to be like. He does this all throughout the Gospels. He shares the kingdom of heaven is like this or like that. And this is one way that he shares what the kingdom of heaven is like. And really what salvation is like, what his people are like. And so let's look in Matthew 25, verses 31 through 36. But when the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, then he will sit upon his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered in his presence, and he will separate the people as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will place the sheep at his right hand and the goats at his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father. Wow. Inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the creation of the world. For when I was hungry, and you fed me. I was thirsty, and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me into your home. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you cared for me. I was in prison, and you visited me." To be hospitable is to meet others' real needs. And also, when you meet others' real needs, who are you really caring for? Caring for Jesus. When I was this, you gave me this, right? Meeting needs. It's often through meeting tangible needs that people will see God's work in your life. People will see a hospitable spirit, right? My dad, he's a pretty good handyman, and he taught me a lot. I can't tell you how many things we fixed together at my new house, or not new anymore. It's been well over a year, almost 2 years. But we've done all sorts of different projects together. There was this one thing recently. We were hanging up a light over our vanity, and it ended up breaking, and so we have to take it down. And I was like, I don't want to take it down, so I left it there. My parents came, and he just took it down and put up the old light fixture the way it was. I never asked him to do it. And he just did it out of the kindness of his heart. Sometimes meeting people's real needs is one of the ways that you can be so hospitable to other people, especially when they don't ask. And then also, I'll give you another example. This weekend, my family was up in Milwaukee to go see my sister. She lives up there. And my parents took Junia on Thursday. So they drove down here and picked her up, and then they went up to Milwaukee on Thursday. And then me and my wife, we met them up there on Friday. And so my parents, God bless them, they're incredible people. My mom specifically, before they left our house, they made sure to vacuum the whole house. She made sure to start the dishwasher, to do our laundry and fold it and put it away. I didn't ask for any of these things. My wife didn't ask for any of these things, and yet my mom wanted to do that because she knew that this is our one night away from, having a child, and she wants it to be special for us, and she didn't want us to think about all those things. And it was just that forethought that brought a sense of hospitality to my own home. Isn't that amazing? Meeting people's real needs opens you up for so much love and it gives it a vision of what God does for us. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us, right? While my house was messy, my mom cleaned up. Sounds a little, anyway. Okay, but the point is, hospitality is meeting people's real needs. And another example of this is just something silly that happened recently. It has to do with my parents again. It snowed pretty big, a month ago or so. And I was snow blowing my driveway. My dad brought his because I thought mine wasn't working. It ended up working anyway. We were both snow blowing the driveway, and then I looked at my neighbor's sidewalk. I was like, you know what? It's not snow blowed, and it doesn't look like they're out there or anything. So I'll just go. And so I did my neighbor's, and I was like, well, I got more gas. I'm gonna just keep going. So I finished my side of the block. I was like, okay, yeah, that was a nice thing to do. And then I'm looking for my dad. I'm like, where is he? He went, we live on a corner. He went the other direction down our block. And so we basically snowblowed the whole block without even realizing it. And it's just like, that's the kind of hospitality that Christ calls us to bring. It's just these simple, small things. It doesn't have to be huge, but it can be so meaningful to people. One of my neighbors came out that day after I was snowblowing, and he was like, oh, you don't have to, how much do I have to pay you? I was like, no, this is just a nice thing. And then I got his phone number. We invited him over for dinner, right? So like hospitality opens up so many doors to really get to know people. A writer in one of the books that I've been reading, kind of in preparation for this, he talks about his neighbor Carol. Pretty incredible story. She's a woman, a single woman, lives on her own. Her husband died. Her children are grown. They've moved away. And she lives across the street from this guy. And she ends up getting cancer and really having a really tough battle. And this writer tells the story of how he was able to share love with her in a really practical way, whether it was taking her to appointments or inviting her over for meals or going over to her house to make her things when she was too weak, right? All of these things. One of the things I thought was so cute and really, really meaningful was he bought these 2 walkie-talkies, and they put one on Carol's bedstand and one on their bedstand, and every night before they go to bed, they would pray together. Just across the street. And it was just so special, like this type of love that he shared for his neighbor, meeting needs that no one would think of. Meeting real needs is hospitality. And so let me ask you this. What would it look like for you? Specifically for your neighbors, the people that live closest to you. Maybe you know them, maybe you don't know them. God does not get your address wrong. That's the reality. And so what can you do to be hospitable to your neighbors? What would it look like if, your neighbors are working in their yard, in their garden or something like that, and you showed up with a pair of work gloves and a shovel and ready to get to work, and then you brought lemonade over afterwards and just had a nice conversation with them. Said, put me to work. What do you want me to do? Right? It's those small things that can mean a lot to people. A lot to people. And it's just a couple hours of work. You know what I mean? There is some really practical love in that. And I'll tell you this, we got that Mokina Cleanup Day. I told you about it earlier. This is one great way that you can be the hands and feet of Jesus to our immediate community, to our people. We're going to go clean up parks and sidewalks and streets. If you want to do that, please sign up in the foyer. I will be going. I know that Pat Dugan will be going. A number of other people will be going. So we'd love for you to be a part of that. This is a great way to show hospitality to our community. And then, of course, meeting people for a meal. That's an obvious one. To me, that's the most common form of hospitality that people typically take on. You don't have to do that, but you can. And I'll tell you this is one thing that I've been realizing. Hospitality has to be in priority over your pride. It has to be in priority over your reputation. Has to be in priority over what people think about you, or what people think about your house, or what people think about your kids. Hospitality comes before pride. Like, take that in. It doesn't have to be this fancy meal. It doesn't have to be this big thing. You can just invite people over to visit after a meal. Hey, you want to come over and hang out? Let's play a game. Let's eat some dessert. Right? Like, it doesn't have to be this big thing. And if you don't like cooking, go get pickup or delivery or Uber Eats, right? Go get something and bring it over. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be real. It has to be bringing home to people, right? Jesus, he did that too with the loaves and fish. We think of that story as so miraculous, and it really is. Like, it's incredible. The loaves and the fish. He took these 5 loaves and 2 fish and fed 10,000 men, or 5,000 men, and then all the others that came along with them, right? Incredible. But what did he feed them? Bread and a piece of fish. And he didn't put in their, filet mignon or, like something super fancy or flashy. He just gave them run-of-the-mill bread and fish. And that was Jesus bringing hospitality to people, right? Bringing them their immediate need, which was they were hungry. They'd been out there for over a day and no food. Jesus brought them what they needed. And it was simple, but it was so impactful. And we still talk about it to this day, 2,000 years later, right? Hospitality does not need to be flashy. It's not about all those big things. It's not about stressing out about what your house looks like either. We'll get to that later. There's a quote from Rosaria Butterfield. She wrote a book called "The Gospel Comes with a House Key." And I love that title, first of all. She said this: hospitality is necessary, whether you have cat hair on the couch or not. People will die of chronic illness or loneliness sooner than they will cat hair in their soup. Know that someone is spared another spiral binge of pornography because he is instead playing Connect 4 with you, or walking the dogs, or jumping on the trampoline. Know that someone is spared the fear and the darkness of depression because she is needed at your home. Know that someone is drawn into Christ's love because the gospel reading that comes at the close of the meal includes everyone. You don't have to have it all together. You just have to be real and bring home to others. Number two. So number one is to be meeting others' real needs. Number two is to be motivated to deepen relationships. To be motivated to deepen your relationships, right? So hospitality is not just spending time with someone or making a meal or helping out, right? Hospitality is always for the purpose of letting people into your life, right? Into your mess sometimes, so into your problems, into your life so that they might do the honor of you doing the same for them, right? I open myself up to you so that you can be open with me. Be motivated to deepen your relationships. That is what hospitality brings to the table. It's not just spending time. It's letting people in. Hospitality is bringing a sense of home to people when you are home or when you are a guest. You are a resident of heaven. Your home is there. And so you are to bring that home to others. When you have that hospitality, it feels like you belong, like you're part of something, like you belong. And you have deeper relationships through that. Proverbs 25, verse 5, it says this: the purpose of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. It's beautiful. This idea that you, in your wisdom, in your hospitality, you can draw out people's hearts. See the true intentions of their heart. Real relationships have a well-rounded foundation of experiences. I talked about that earlier. Like you experience the full width of emotion, the full breadth of emotion with people in your home. So in hospitality, you honestly are opening yourself up like it's your home and they're not even there. And that is really hard. Because what if people don't like me? What if I'm too much? What if I'm really annoying? What if I'm a slob? Right? But that's real relationships, is bumping into each other and then resolving it, fixing it, changing as a result of that conflict. That's what hospitality is. And so deeper relationships require conflict. That's why at our church, we're really, if there's anyone that ever tries to leave the church, we are really intentional about reaching out to them and at least sending them out with a blessing, caring for them, showing them that we still love you and you're more than welcome back, but we also bless you as you go. or trying to resolve that conflict, saying, we see you, we know what you're going through, and we want to make amends, right? There's a real importance on our end to be committed to you because we want to be hospitable as a community. Deepening relationships is a huge part of that. You know, my mom is so bad at small talk. If you ever talk to her, just like on a Sunday here, she'll come every once in a while. She is horrible at talking to new people because she doesn't know what the heck to talk about with you. She just, hi, what's your name? Oh. You know, I mean, she is just not, that is just not her personality. But then if you talk to her about something real, oh my goodness, she draws you in with her questions and with her wisdom, with her compassion and empathy. But if you talk about real things, she's so able to meet you there. And hospitality brings this relational bond that isn't experienced other ways. Oh man, it's incredible. Yeah. And I'll say this. You know, Jesus did that too, right? Jesus always asked questions. Whenever someone would kind of get into this conversation with him or a relationship with him, it was not long before Jesus would ask a heart-probing question, a question that would reflect back into them, right? Think of all the times he asked people those questions, found out something new about themselves. That is what welcoming and warm, but also daring conversations can bring. It can be a tool for hospitality, right? In John 4, Jesus asks a question of a woman, a Samaritan woman. If you know, the Samaritans were not well liked by the Jews. Jesus was a Jew. It was the cats and dogs. They hated each other. And this Samaritan woman is at the well, the same well that Jesus is at, pretty much alone. Jesus asks, hey, can I have a drink of water? First of all, for Jesus to even talk to a woman was scandal. A woman from Samaria alone. And then not only that, but then offer to drink from her cup. All of those things were breaking Jewish law, right? And so him doing that was pretty scandalous, but he asked her a question. And asking her for something opened up a relationship. I will tell you this, my sister said this, and I think it rings super true. She said, most of your neighbors want to know you. Most of your neighbors want to be good neighbors. And most of you want to be good neighbors too. I don't think that is a hard thing to understand or even believe. I think most people want to be good neighbors. The trick is getting your foot in the door to become that neighbor. One of the ways that my sister did this is she started asking her neighbors to borrow tools. You know, at her house or whatever, she just needed, hey, can I borrow a shovel? Can I borrow a saw? Can I borrow fill in the blank? Or do you know how to fix this? Or could you give me some advice on? And that just brightened people's eyes, and they were so ready to help. They just didn't know how to initiate a relationship, but she did it first. Sometimes it's asking people for things that can be sometimes the most hospitable way to care for people. It's pretty awesome. And Jesus did this all the time. Another great example of that, Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus was what? He was a wee little man. A wee little man was he, right? In Luke 19, I'm going to read this. So if you want to turn there, you can. This is the story of Zacchaeus. At the very beginning, verses 1 through 10, it says this. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but because he was short, he could not see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. Then Jesus reached the spot, and he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today. So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, he's gone to be the guest of a sinner. But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half my possessions to the poor, and if I cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount." Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost." It's such a beautiful story. We sing this children's song about it, but it's just so profound. I mean, this man who's living a crooked lifestyle wants to just get a glimpse at Jesus, and then Jesus says, "What? Hey, can I stay at your house?" And in that, Jesus shows hospitality by bringing salvation to the home, right? Because the Son of Man came to seek. In hospitality, we are always seeking, scanning, looking for the next person that we're going to have over, for the next person we're bringing hospitality to. That is the beauty of hosting, of hospitality, of making home for people. And we are in a world full of homeless people. A world full of spiritually homeless people. In our community, I'm sure you know, there's a huge issue with spiritual homelessness. People are taking from here and taking from there, and I don't know about this, and maybe I'll try this, and maybe I'll go here, maybe do. Jesus is offering salvation to those homes. And who's he calling to bring that to? Us. Let's not give up our birthright. Let's be hospitable. Rosaria Butterfield, in that same book, she writes the second quote. I love this quote. "If you come to my house for dinner and notice that I'm still teaching math lessons to a child, and my laundry remains on the dining room table unfolded, you roll up your sleeves and fold my laundry, or set the table, or load the dishwasher, or feed the dogs. Radically ordinary hospitality means hosts are not embarrassed to receive help, and guests know that their help is needed." Amazing. Can you imagine having a stranger fold your laundry? That sounds super vulnerable, especially depending on the laundry that you're folding. There's something vulnerable that comes from hospitality, and it's not just from the people that you invite in. It's from you too. We deepen relationships by letting our guests help and letting your guests know that their help is needed. And then the other thing I will say this, you can make your relationships hospitable as well. Man, I'm running out of time here. La and I, one of the things that we did when we were dating, we were really intentional about our vision for what we want our home to be, what we want our relationship, even our dating relationship to be. We lived on campus, and so we could have spent every minute together if we wanted to. But instead, we were very intentional about how we spent our time. We said, we don't want to be one of those couples that isolates away and lose all of our friendships in the meantime. You all know what that's like. You have friends that have done that to you, I'm sure, where you just kind of got lost in the sauce because your friends left you, and they're their own thing now. And then when they break up, then they come crawling back with their tail between their legs like, sorry, right? We didn't want to be that. And so we intentionally set up our meals. We said, okay, we're gonna have one breakfast together, one lunch together, and one dinner together. And then the rest of the time, we're going to make sure that we're intentional with our friendships. And that was really important. And then we also decided we're going to have one date night. That will probably be our dinner night. There's one date night a week where we spend time just us. And then we're going to do another date night where we spend it together, but very intentionally with our friends. One of the prayers that we would pray often is just, Lord, just as your love was open to us, the Trinity, this relationship was open to us, let our love be open to others. Right? Hospitality comes from hospitable relationships. And so it's a family activity. It's not just a one-person activity. This is something you can do with your family, bringing people in and making them feel at home. Real relationships are messy. They require all kinds of conversations, even forgiveness, but it is worth it to have hospitable relationships. There's a video that I want to show you regarding this.
I was a professor at Syracuse. I lived as an out lesbian feminist in New York. In our LGBTQ community, somebody's home was open every night of the week. And there was never a question, where will I go if I need help? Because the community itself is organic and fluid, and that was how we dealt with crises. After I wrote my tenure book, I really wanted to write a book that was on my heart. Why is the religious right such a hateful community? And why do they hate people like me? I was on a war against two things, patriarchy and stupid. So I was really curious to know why relatively decent people would use the Bible in such a hateful way. So I wrote an editorial, and it brought all kinds of attention my way, which I didn't really expect. But one of the things it brought my way was a letter from Ken Smith, the pastor of the Syracuse Reformed Presbyterian Church. When Ken and his wife Floy invited me to dinner, I was happy. I thought of Ken as my unpaid research assistant. And they were fine with the fact that I wanted to read the Bible to critique it. That began a research journey that changed my life. But it wasn't research that changed my life. In Ken and Floy's home, the way that they practiced hospitality became a living, breathing example of the theology that they were teaching. After my first dinner at Ken and Floy's house, Ken gave me a big hug, Floy gave me a big hug and a kiss on the cheek. We said, we'll catch up next week. This was fun. Can't wait to do it again. They did not share the gospel with me, and they did not invite me to church. And that was so wonderful, because what it showed to me was that they didn't see me as a project. They actually saw me as a neighbor. Now, I didn't step foot in the church for 2 years, but every week I was in their home. And every week it was clear that pretty much anything could go. We could ask anything. Ken and Floy were fine. And that process of dialogue and table fellowship was compelling. It was deeply compelling. I did not come to faith because I stopped feeling like a lesbian. It's not that I got all of my worldview issues just completely cemented with a happy Christian evangelism, not at all. I came to faith because I became convicted that Jesus is who he says he is. Ephesians 4:29 is our watchword, that we are to impart grace to the hearer. I might not agree with everything that you hold to be near and dear, but because we are neighbors, I don't have to say everything that's on my heart. And you don't have to say everything that's on your heart right now. We can put some of our worldview issues aside. And over years of this, the gospel takes on a momentum that is compelling to people. I think we need to give each other the reminder that it's God who saves. It's not about certainly us being perfect or our words being perfect, but show up we must in the lives of unbelievers. What comes naturally to me and what comes naturally to you is to hang out with people who are like us, people who can maybe finish our sentences, people who don't scare us. But hospitality, biblically speaking, takes strangers and makes them neighbors, and takes neighbors and makes them family of God. It's a great joy to see the gospel bring people together who are supposed to be enemies. And it's a great joy to know that God never gets the address wrong. And if your neighbors aren't people you know yet, there's a blessing waiting for you.
there's this beauty that comes from hospitality. And isn't that an amazing story? It's just so heartwarming to see how this pastor and his wife met with her for 2 years before she stepped foot in a church, and she met Jesus every single week at their house. That's the type of power that we have as believers, to bring Jesus to others in the comfort of our own home. Like that's the beauty. And I will say this, that video to me, it is so clearly the heart of hospitality, that it's not just for us. It's not just for the church. The spiritual gifts are used for everyone, and especially to go and share the good news about Jesus through your spiritual gift. This is it. Hospitality is for the homeless, right? That's what I was talking about before. Hospitality is for the homeless. And so this is the last point here. Modeling the home God has for them. Hospitality is to be modeling the home that God has for them. That's the beauty of hospitality. You know, God's made us a home, right? We're standing on it right now. Or I'm standing and you're sitting, right? This earth is our home. He made this, and we live here. This is our home. God is a home maker. And then you also have the example of Jesus, right? John 1:14 says, and the Word, also known as Jesus, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, lived among us, lived on this earth. The word for dwelt in the Hebrew, it actually is the same word that is used to mean pitch a tent, to pitch a tent, or in the Hebrew, to tabernacle. God brought his tabernacle here because we couldn't meet him where he was. He brought us himself. He pitched his tent onto this earth. And then John 14, Jesus says this to his disciples, verses 2 and 3. He says, there is more than enough room in my, what? In my Father's home. If this were not so, would I have told you that I am going to prepare a place for you? When everything is ready, I will come and get you so that you will always be with me where I am. God's preparing a home for us too. So he's not only given us a home here, he not only brought his son here to make home for us, and then he went back to heaven to prepare a home for us. And it's not mansions, as some translations describe. It literally says rooms. There are many rooms in my Father's what? One house. We will be in a home together, essentially, right? There's many rooms in my Father's house. He is hospitable, and he's made home for us. And so when you bring hospitality to others, it is literally taking a slice of heaven and bringing it to your neighbor. That is the beauty that comes with hospitality. It's saying, I'm giving you a taste of what my home is like, what my real home is like. Do you want that? Do you want this? That's what happened for Rosaria Butterfield. That was the woman that spoke in the testimony. This idea that you can bring home, you can model God's home for others. It's incredible. And Jesus invites everyone into this home, right? Matthew 9:10-12, it says this. This is about Matthew, the tax collector, also known as the disciple, right? Later, Matthew invited Jesus and his disciples to his home as a dinner guest, along with many tax collectors and other disreputable sinners. But when the Pharisees saw this, they asked his disciples, why does your teacher eat with such scum? When Jesus heard this, he said, healthy people don't need a doctor. Sick people do. Bringing a home to the homeless. That's the beauty in hospitality. So this is really important. We need to be inviting people that we wouldn't normally invite. We need to be inviting people that we don't agree with on everything. We need to be inviting people, showing them that we love them despite who they think that we think that they are, despite their reputations. Jesus is eating with tax collectors and sinners. Pretty clear example to me about what we need to be doing. We need to be caring for the least of these. For when you care for them, you've cared for the Lord. Hospitality is about inviting the lost and the homeless. We need to invite people. Because why? Because we're called to love. We're called to love. I'm going to invite the band up at this time. So I want you today, don't let this sit. Don't forget about doing this. Even if while I'm talking, you write, I don't care. Come up with a list of people that you want to be hospitable to, whether that means inviting into your own home, meeting them on the sidewalk or in your driveway during the summer, whether that means visiting someone at the hospital, or that means doing all these different things. Like, we need to be hospitable people, and specifically to people that don't know Jesus. Write a list of those people that you want to be hospitable to, that you want to bring home to. Okay? If there's anything that you take away, please do this, and then please follow through on it, because this is we get an opportunity to show God with people, and most people will say yes if you invite them over to their house or to your house. Most people will say yes. So I really encourage you to do that. Please do that. And then for those of you who are still on the fence about this, that I don't want to have people in my home, or I don't want to let people in even, or people have burned me in the past, and this is hard. I'm kind of a lone wolf. I don't even like people sometimes. Some people, that's just how it is. Bob Goff, he wrote a book called Everybody Always. It's a really good book. Really encourage you to look it up. He wrote this quote: "People who are becoming love are with those who are hurting and help them get home. I've always thought that people who didn't want to be with people are going to hate heaven." Beautiful quote, and it's true. Let's start living out heaven here on earth, right now. No better time than right now. My mentor said this to me yesterday. He said, "You are becoming who you are," meaning what you practice today is essentially who you will become. There's no better time to start hospitality than right now. And while you're thinking about who you're inviting, I know that there are some people in this room who may agree with my sermon, that it's a great idea to be hospitable, that it's a great idea to bring hospitality to other people. And yet, they've not been hospitable to Jesus yet. They have not opened their hearts to Jesus yet. There's a guy, he wrote this book. Sorry, I keep on name dropping. A guy that wrote this book called The Cure, and he shares this idea of what it's like to really be welcomed into the hospitality of salvation. He uses an allegory. He says this. He says, "I walk into this room full of people, and a host comes and greets me, and she says, 'Welcome to the room of grace.' And she presses and says, 'How are you?' I feel like I've been here before, so I tentatively say, 'I'm fine. I'm pretty fine. Who wants to know?' Well, now I'm mad because I feel judged. I'm looking at everyone around me, so I yell, 'All right, everybody listen. I am not fine. I haven't been fine for a long time. I'm tired and confused and afraid. I feel guilty, lonely. I'm sad most of the time. I can't make my life work. I'm so far behind and befuddled about what to do next. It leaves me frozen most of the time. And if any of you knew the daily thoughts that I have, you want me out of your little room. So I am doing not fine.' And I reach for the doorknob to get out of the room. And I hear this voice yelling from the back. 'That's it? That's all you got? I'll take your confusion and guilt and bad thoughts, and I'll raise you compulsive sin and chronic lower back pain.' The hostess nudges me and says, 'I think he means you're welcome here.' And there is much warm laughter as I am ushered into a sweet family of kind and painfully real people, and there is not a mask to be seen anywhere." That is the hospitality that salvation brings, that Jesus brought when he came to this earth. He so loved you that he came, lived, and died for your sins. When you sin, you separate yourself from God's plan. It's like unplugging a vacuum from a wall. When you unplug from the giver of life, and you die. That's what sin does. He separates us from God. He separates us from God through physical death and then through eternal death. That we die as a result of our sin, but Jesus was not content to leave us that way, amen? He came and lived and died in our place that we might be justified and saved from our sins. And so if you've not been hospitable to Jesus, he says this, look, I stand at the door and I knock. Whoever opens it, I will enter in. Jesus is knocking at your heart. If you've not been hospitable to him, open the door, welcome him in, and then get ready for a crazy ride of a life with Jesus, full of love, full of a lot of hard times, a lot of good times. But you can do it with a family of believers. We're ready for you. And so we'll have some prayer partners available in the foyer after church today. If you want to pray with someone, we know that it's a little hard to pray right in front of the speakers here, so if you want to pray out in the foyer, we would love for you to pray and talk to them about what a relationship with Jesus looks like. It means to believe and surrender and to live a new life in accordance with him. And so I encourage you to do that. Make Jesus hospitable in your life. And I just want to remind you, church, we've got a lot of problems. We've got a lot of things going on in life. There's a lot of brokenness and a lot of sin. We have this hope in Revelation 21. And I saw the holy city, the New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven like a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. I heard a loud shout from the throne saying, "Look, God's home is now among his people. He will live with them and they will be his people. God himself will be with them and he will wipe away every tear from their eyes. And there will be no more death, no sorrow or crying or pain, for these things are gone forever." That is the hope that we cling to, that God is making a home for us that's going to come down, and we will be with him, and he will be our God and we will be his people. That's the home that we have. And so let's make that a reality today. Be hospitable as we wait. Let's stand and worship.